Okay, so our next song emphasizes God as a source of joy for all the things he's done. And initially, Josephine asked me to give a testimony pertaining to this song. And it was hard for me to review and think about it initially because I don't consider myself a type of person that expresses physical joy really naturally. And no instance specifically stands out to me, or maybe I just have a bad memory. But after reflecting much on it, I realized that there are moments in my life where I feel that I've been able to experience true spiritual joy. And in terms of my definition, it's a type of joy that's hard to describe in words. That's not one that you can describe really because it's tacit and you just really know it to be. And one of these experiences was manifested through the relationship that I had with my grandmother. So my grandmother actually took care of me most of my life. I spent the first couple of years of my life with her in Shanghai, and she followed my family to the US after I went back to the US for grade school. And my fondest memories of her had always been with food. She would always be the one waking me up each morning at 6, 7 a.m. for school and cooking me eggs and hot dogs for breakfast, and also be the one cooking me fried rice whenever I got back from school and needed an afternoon meal. And I had many other fond memories with her. When I was younger, I spent a lot of time, watching Chinese and Korean dramas with her. And we've also spent much time within our small vegetable garden, just picking tomatoes and cucumbers. And eventually, during my last couple of years of high school, she finally decided to go back to Shanghai and stay there. So after a while, I couldn't see her for a long time. But eventually, I found out that during the junior year of my high school, my grandmother was diagnosed with stomach cancer, and so she couldn't eat anything because her stomach literally rejected anything solid that went into her body, and she could only drink milk and eat really liquidy foods like congee. And I couldn't go back, and I really wanted to go back to see her during the summer of my junior year, but I couldn't because my parents already had plans for me to go somewhere else, and my dad decided to visit her instead. So although I didn't know it at that time, the doctors told her that she only had about 2-3 months to live. So I didn't really know what to do during that time, so the only thing I could have done was to pray for her. And so that's what I did for a couple months. But around fall of senior year of high school, the doctors did a checkup on her, and they were completely dumbfounded that her cancer had just simply completely disappeared when they were doing a regular checkup on her. And they were so surprised that a lot of hospital doctors actually gathered around the doctor that did the checkup on my grandmother, and they were just completely surprised that the cancer just simply disappeared by itself. And we were so overjoyed to have heard these news. Eventually, for a couple of months, she was eating normal again, and everything was well. But actually later, her cancer returned, and the doctors needed to treat her again. So during the summer of my senior year, almost a year after the diagnosis had happened, I finally had the opportunity to go back and see her in Shanghai. And although I was only in Shanghai for 2 weeks, I could tell that she was really uplifted. And she started eating normally during my stay in Shanghai. And during that time, I asked her if she had gone to church at all when she was back in China. And she told me that she hadn't, because in my family, she's actually, well, at least on my family that's around her in Shanghai, she's actually the only Christian. And she said that no one was able to go to church with her. So during the weekend that I was there, I went with her to church. And then while I was there, I didn't understand anything that was being said during the sermon because it was completely in Chinese. But I just had such a joy in just seeing my grandmother in her just attenuated weakened state, just standing up and singing praise music, even though she really couldn't in the situation that she was in. And during that time, I just kept thanking God for the opportunity that he gave me and just being able to come back during the summer and take her to church. And it was truly one of the moments that I can say that I expressed true joy, because whatever other issues I had inside of me, they simply all went away. And I was just happy that my grandmother was able to go to church and sing praise music. And eventually, after going to college, she eventually passed away shortly after, during the beginning of my senior year. During the beginning of my freshman year. And when I reflect back on everything, I just thank God so much for extending my grandmother's life for these extra months for me to see her. Because during that time, not only had she had the opportunity to see me, she had the chance during these months to see me get into college, and she had the chance to literally see my sister's boyfriend propose to my sister right in front of her during the summer that I went back. And although I didn't realize it initially, I was probably her source of joy throughout the later parts of her life. And I spent the majority of my life under her care. And obviously I get joy from my own personal accomplishments, but there's a special type of joy that you see, that I feel when you see the joy and seeing the progress that others have made. And that's still something that God's been gradually teaching me more and more now. So our next song speaks of the joy that we experience when we reflect back on everything He's done. Although I am far, far from truly comprehending this selfless type of joy, and far from seeing this song of perfection, I really do think that I'm able to understand and comprehend the lyrics of this song. So, joy.